Warriors, it is our end of the year special.
Yippee!
I can't believe it. What the fuck?
I
We've been
know.
doing this. I can't believe it's like end of season 3.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
happening?
Wow.
What is happening? I can't get over. It's like the pandemic just felt like 8 minutes ago and also 100 years ago at the same time for me. I don't
Yeah.
know, but I can't believe here we are at the end of season 3.
Yeah.
We had
Yeah.
so many fantastic people join our warrior family this year.
hmm hmm
Just,
I feel
you
like a
know,
lot more people that found us.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a lot more just like random people that we reached out to too.
Yes.
It was a
Yeah.
weird mix of those two things.
Because the first season was like all our friends were like,
Yeah,
hey,
mostly.
Raina. Hey, Lauren.
Yeah. Hey,
Friends, come
literally
on.
everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
that's
then
been
last
fun.
season,
hmm
totally. And then last season was an eclectic mix also. I think it was a lot of people we were in, some of our friends too, but then people that we were just in community with
hmm
already, whether it be you or I or both of us on Instagram or in our work communities or whatever.
Yep.
And then this year was like the year of randoms, but
Yeah.
like in the best way.
Yeah. Right.
In the
Like
best way.
connecting with new people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really felt like what's the word I want to use? Enlivening. That's not a word. Like, I don't know. I felt very like
Invigorating.
rejuvenated. Yeah, invigorated's good. Like rejuvenating talking to these people.
Yeah.
Because they were brand new to us.
Yeah.
Almost all of them. It's crazy. So this episode is going to be all of our fabulous guests from season
hmm
3 sharing their response to what does being an anxiety warrior mean to you?
hmm
Which, as we all know, is one of our favorite questions to ask all of our warrior guests.
Yeah.
And why do you love this question, Abby?
Um, I love it for a few reasons. One, I love it because I love hearing everyone's different take, right? Because anxiety is not a one size fits all. Like
Mm-hmm.
anxiety shows up differently for all of us. We all live our lives differently, inside and outside with anxiety. And so one of the reasons I love this question is because we get to hear from so many different anxiety warriors about what it means to them, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then I also love it because there's always so much overlap. It's
Yeah.
like as different as we are and as different our experiences are, I feel like in some ways it really does connect us. It really does show
Yes.
how much more we do have in common, um,
Mm-hmm.
even though we've walked different lives. So
Yeah.
that's, I think, my first thought. But if I knew you were going to ask me that question and I sat and thought about it, I might have a different answer.
No, candid answers are always better. Candid answers are better because they're
What
they're
about
like
you?
they're like true. They're truer. Um, yeah, I think for me, it's definitely a mix of those things. And it's also just that I wind up feeling powerful after somebody shares their definition because most of the definitions are empowering in some way.
Mm-hmm.
They're like
Mm-hmm.
they're like affirmations in some way,
Yeah.
right? And I think some of our guests wind up sharing little tidbits or stories that have led them to this definition.
Mm-hmm.
And they are so different and unique from each other. They do have that through line. And for me, that through line is like an empowerment. Like
Yeah.
it's just feeling some kind of way about this phrase.
Yeah.
And we've even had some warriors this season, especially like share that like the phrase doesn't really align with them.
Mm-hmm.
That feels really empowering too, right?
The
That like they've,
negotiator.
yeah, and that they've been able to say, actually, I'm so glad. Like to me, it feels like I'm glad that I got this question because it doesn't align with who I am, or
Mm-hmm.
I don't view myself as a warrior, but I view myself a little bit more like this. And I just feel like it's the same result. It's
Yeah.
it's power, right?
Right.
It's reclaiming of who you are
Mm-hmm.
and how you show up in the world.
Totally.
And I just think it's I love the question so much because it feels like these are empowering reminders that all of us can not necessarily take on for ourselves, but feel in that moment when they share with conviction, right?
Mm-hmm.
With feeling, with heart. It just feels powerful. So
Yeah.
that's why I love it. And warriors, if you have not listened to all of these answers, meaning that you didn't get a chance to hear all of these incredible conversations, we hope that you, as soon as you hear these answers, go back through season 3 and just start, picking off all of the amazing interviews that we had with these folks, and check out these episodes. Do not sleep on these episodes. These folks this season were just so incredible. We know you're going to love them, and we know you're going to very much appreciate these answers. So without further ado, here are our warriors from season 3 sharing what does it mean to be an anxiety warrior.
See, when I first heard the name of your podcast, I was like, I imagined myself like as like a Spartan warrior, just like shielded up, slaying some, like you said, like an entity. It's just like, just. So I feel like that's a good way, like a front defense. You're aware of it. You know what your opponent is. You can kind of go at it head on, and it's sneaky sometimes, but as long as you know how to manage it.
It disguises itself in so many different ways.
For real, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you just kind of fight the good fight every day.
I feel like for me, it means that I am able to show up publicly, authentically, as messy as I am, and allow others to love me as I am, or to see where I'm at presently so that they know how to interact with me. But also to model that you can be this while also being this. You can be messy and you can be on stage. You can be, messy and hate the way that your body looks and still put it out there for the world to see. Like, I feel like being an anxiety warrior means that your vulnerability is something that is like a superpower for yourself and others.
It does mean being grateful for the life that I have and living in the moment. Like I realize now, because when you have the anxiety, a lot of times it's either I'm anxious about something that I did in the past that I'm worried about, or it's something that's going to happen in the future. And if I can stay in the moment and be like, okay, right now, take a deep breath. We're going to be okay. We're good right now. So learning to live in the moment and be grateful for what I have in the moment has been life-changing, and exactly what I would say. In order to be an anxiety warrior, you kind of have to learn to live in the moment.
Yes, I think when we hear the word warrior, we think about somebody who's fighting, right? Who's fighting the good fight and winning. Like my brain goes straight to, armors and swords. But when I think about anxiety, being a warrior, first of all, is showing the world and showing everyone that this battle is already set. You've already won this. Anxiety is not stronger than you. So just by realizing that and being an example that this is possible empowers people. So being an anxiety warrior for me is knowing that, hey, the battle is already over. You can show up, but I know in the end, I'm here, I'm still alive, everything is still fine. And then through that, I can show other people that they can also win this battle that they've already won, that, truly nothing has gone wrong here. We are dealing with one emotion, and there's so many others, right, that we have to deal on a daily basis. Part of my mission here is to show people, who they are, how strong they are, how powerful they are, that an emotion doesn't have to overthrow their whole lives, and that they can overcome those emotions and have a clear mind to keep going after their dreams. There are so many beautiful dreams to be lived, to be conquered. That's a much more beautiful battle, that I'd rather fight, which is, let me see, where I want to go this month, or what ways I want to grow, give them more attention, and then show everybody that this is possible. Once you make peace with that anxiety, doesn't let it rule your life. It doesn't have to. So yes, that's what that means to me.
Well, since your podcast is called Anxiety Warriors, I would definitely say a badass. Because
All right.
a warrior is a badass. who is brave, goes into battle every day, knowing that it might be a really easy day or it might be the worst day ever, but they face it anyway because they have to.
I think there's a couple things. So the first thing, I think the most important thing that stands out to me is there's a community of us. You're not operating by yourself on an island. There's other people around and you can learn from each other and have that support. I think that's the first thing. And the other thing is just being resilient. And if you're having a bad day, okay, like let it pass and showing up tomorrow. So it's not, I feel like you're not giving up on yourself in a way. And a lot of people, they have this anxiety or they don't want to, for example, go out of the house or social anxiety. So I feel like, okay, you can embrace that, but really trying to show up for yourself, and you're resilient. I feel like that's resiliency is huge.
So what came to me, the one word again that comes to me when I hear that is victory. So you know what, being the warrior, like I'm victorious. I can live my life. I'm not isolated. I'm not shut down in fear. I'm not, limiting my life because of being afraid I'm going to have an anxiety attack or feel anxious. So to me, it like the anxiety warrior, it's like it's victorious.
I love that.
And I know we're not all in
Yes,
that place.
yeah.
Like people who are listening may not be in that place yet. And I don't, I have days where maybe I'm not there, but like overall, that's how I feel.
I instantly, I just think what came to my head was just showing up for yourself and being patient with the anxiety, because it's not, don't let it consume you, and try to like pause and breathe with it until it passes. Because like a lot of people will always respond like emotionally or reactively once anxiety comes up. But I feel like now being an anxiety warrior, we're definitely just showing up and being patient with the anxiety until it subsides.
So the warrior word, I personally feel, I like that word, warrior. In terms of, if you're looking at it from the perspective of, someone who can meet the challenges that are in front of them, but with grace and grit, like that combination of both. So like knowing when it's okay to say when, and knowing when to notice, like to push, not like physically push, but like, I guess persevere is probably what I'm looking for. So like that grit and grace combination to me is the warrior part of it. And, when you think of someone who has been, struggling with things like anxiety, it's definitely a great word to describe that struggle, because it's not like it's over.
Right.
Yeah.
We're done.
Yeah, all done with that part. That was so nice. We got through that.
I think warrior implies that there is a journey. Like there's not a beginning, there's not an end, but there's a journey, and that journey that we're on isn't totally okay and acceptable journey. And maybe it's going to require some moments where we have to give ourselves a little TLC, which is also okay. And maybe there's times when we can also, what have we learned from this journey?
Someone who keeps showing up, like not giving up and showing up consistently and for yourself, I think when people hear my story and they're like, you stuck, even like my therapist is like, no one, like no one would have stuck out what you went through, like with doing this healing work. Like, you're amazing. She's like, you're the strongest person I know. She's like, because this is really, really hard work. Like, this is harder than probably, like, I think we're in medical school, probably, I'm sorry that my friends are doctors, but like, but it's really hard work, and you keep showing up, and things are going to trigger you, and, you're going to have to, it gets easier to recognize the triggers, when you learn, and then it's handling that.
Right.
And it's, so much you could do in therapy. It's what you do all on your own.
That's it. That's the showing up part, right? Like showing up to therapy is like easy. I'm not saying it really is easy. I put that in quotes, everyone, right? Like showing up to therapy is hard enough.
Yeah, that's the easy part. It's what you do on your own. It's taking that stuff and practicing it on your own.
Yes, and showing up for yourself on a like moment to moment basis.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love it.
That's good. Consistency is key, people.
Yeah, I think anxiety warrior is such a great term too. It really just sheds light on like we can overcome it and that you can be a warrior. It doesn't have to have that power over you. So I just love anxiety warrior. I think to be an anxiety warrior means to be that you're not embarrassed or shameful, or you really are hard on yourself for experiencing anxiety. I think it is really to be able to approach your anxiety with like love and care. And that, again, it's not this power struggle, that like it can be almost like you and your anxiety, like growing and figuring it out together. So I really think I see most people struggle, and myself struggle, when there was shame and embarrassment around it. And I think once that wall can drop and it can just be acceptance and curiosity and nothing but love for giving your brain and body what it needs, I think you're a warrior over the anxiety. I think it's no longer this thing has power over you. I think that you've like overcome it and that you're like the strongest version of yourself.
Being an anxiety warrior to me is it's really around your mentality. It means you being, or me, excuse me, being a person that I'm not afraid of fear anymore, right? Because people can be afraid, but to be afraid of fear is a whole nother bucket to jump into. Being an anxiety warrior is that I'm prepared to fight any battle, but also prepared to think my way through a battle as well. There have been many battles that have been started and ended with the right words, the right verbiage. So that's how I look at my anxiety. I'm like, hey, if I think about the right way, to go about this, or the right word to think about or to use in this case, then I can start and stop a lot of wars before they even get going. So yeah.
First of all, I love the use of warrior because for so many years, like endo warrior is also a thing with endometriosis. And so like that word, because like warrior is such an intentional word, right? It's not fighter, it's not soldier, it's not something like that. Like when you're a warrior, I just think of it as like, yes, you're fighting, which I think in the anxiety world we are. And I also think you're enduring. And I think that combination is the warrior. Yeah. Because it is a forever thing. And I realized that when I was thinking about endometriosis, it's not deadly, thank God. It's not like a fatal thing. It's not, but it is a forever thing. And when I realized that, and like for many years, I had a solution for it, and then I didn't, and now I do again, so it's like you are enduring it, and it might not feel like a fight every day or every moment, but some days it really does. And I feel very much similar to that with anxiety too. And I think now it has become more mainstream to talk about, which feels really like, and when I'm talking about like, oh, I never even thought of it as that. Like I'm talking about 5 years ago, postpartum anxiety, regular anxiety wasn't used. It was like, oh, I'm feeling anxious, but it wasn't like I have anxiety. Yes, for many people, it is and always has been. But for like the larger conversation and society, like it is so much more talked about now. And it's, and it can come out in so many different ways. Like, it's not like necessarily someone is jittering. Someone might be super ragey and it's like, ooh, that person, and it's like, no, it's under there,
Yes,
and
that's
so,
anxiety too.
Yes. And I just think that there's so many different ways to have to combat it to live the life you want. And in order to live a life that you want, you need to be a warrior because it is really challenging.
Well, first I think is to acknowledge what does is to really acknowledge what does give you anxiety, right? If we don't know what it is that's causing the anxiety, then there's no way to address it. And we all have anxiety, no matter what. Every person you see on the street has anxiety. So I love the idea of an anxiety warrior, because it's somebody that's willing to go in and examine their life enough to figure out what is the cause of it, and then take action to figure out how to, like I was saying before, like for me, it's about finding more gratitude in my life. Yeah. It's about making sure I get enough sleep. It's about making sure I have enough time to myself. I like to be alone more than my husband likes to be alone. So I have to find my alone time to center myself. So that's the warrior in us. You figure out what it is and then try different things to see what works, because what works for me may not work for other people.
You know, I think it's about getting rid of this idea of perfection. And it's just continually building that muscle to show up, just like keep showing up. Because I think one of the things that our minds do when we're anxious is we can spiral into all of the reasons that prevent us from having experiences in our life, right? And that can keep us really safe, but it also prevents us from doing some really cool things in the process, right? And for me, right, I was always driven by fear of making mistakes, fear of rejection, right? Fear of failure. And that prevented me from experiencing a lot of different things. And so I think being a warrior, like doing the work and showing up for yourself, that is the hard work. If it was easy, more people would be doing this and our world wouldn't look the way it looks, right? So like improving yourself, like working on yourself, and just keep showing up, as messy and imperfect as it all looks, like that's being a warrior. Like just keep showing up.
It's funny because I thought about this one a lot too, and I think I prefer to call myself an anxiety negotiator.
All right.
I don't know if I can. I don't think I have just who I am to go to full war with something like that. I think for me, it's really about being cunning and understanding. And I think negotiating and using the good parts of the anxiety for, like I said, the things I care about, and making it proactive versus knowing which parts don't work and which parts are harmful, and pushing those, like I said, walking around those thoughts as opposed to trying to run through them. For me, that's how I see myself. I was like trying to literally identify as like a warrior, and it wasn't helping. So I was like, okay, I'm a negotiator, I'm more of a big brain guy than a big brawn guy. So yeah, that's my compromise to that statement.
Yes, I love it.
Speechless.
If we have a spin-off, it's going to be the Anxiety Negotiator podcast.
Woo, warriors. Those answers, though.
Mm-hmm.
Am I right? Those answers. Heartwarming, powerful, fun, just like all the things. And we hope that you enjoyed re-listening or listening for the first time to these incredible answers from our wonderful warrior family.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe there's one that sticks with you and it's like now your affirmation as you get into the new year.
We hope you're enjoying a peaceful season, whatever's going on with your life. We hope that it is as peaceful as it can be. And we're sending you so much love.
Yes. Thank you all so much for going on this journey with us. We are grateful we get to do this with y'all.
Till next time, next season.